Howdy readers, I'm Jason. This is chapter and verse, and this is the long awaited by some, I suppose, probably not by many of you, but the long awaited results video from the Booktube top 10s tag. I started, I don't know, it was probably 14 months ago, something like that. I hadn't been on Booktube for very long when I started that original tag. And I had high hopes for it. So the idea was that Booktubers would do this tag, would choose their top 10 books, right? And they could define that in any way they wanted to. With their top 10 books, their top 10 favorite, top 10 most influential, what have you. And they had to rank them. And because the book that ranked first received 10 points in the votes, the book that ranked second received 9 points, and so on and so forth. And over the last year or so, I have been compiling all of this data as it's been coming in from people's videos. And it's done now. I said that I would give the project a year. I was hoping to reach 100 participants. We didn't quite get there. 84 people participated in this project. There were 638 individual works voted for between individual books, series, because a series could count as a single entry. Books of the Bible were eligible as well. And anyway, it's all done now. So this last week I've been working on just compiling the last of the data from the final videos. So as you'll know, if you've been following this project, I did a roughly first quarter update on the results, second quarter update, and a third quarter update. And then here we have the final tally. I will put links to the original tag video and the update videos, the quarterly update videos, in the description box below. I will also put in the description box below a list of all of the books that did not make the top 10, but that received at least 2 votes from people, right? That had at least 2 people voting for them. In case you're wondering if your favorite book just barely missed making the cut. A few things, right? So in the first quarter update, there were a lot of ties in the top 10, right? A lot of ties at a lot of different positions in the top 10. With the second update, there were still ties, but there were fewer of them in the top 10. And then in the third quarter update, there was only 1 tie in the top 10. And at that point, it was a tie for the number 1 spot. And it was a horse race, really, between Jane Eyre and Pride and Prejudice. I am happy to report, and a little surprised to report, that in the final results, there were no ties at all in the top 10. The very first tie in the compiling of the results was at the number 11 spot. And that was a tie between Tess of the D'Urbervilles and Little Women, both of which had 28 points, both of which had 4 votes, and both of which missed tying for the number 10 spot by 2 points. So those of you who are fans of Little Women and Tess of the D'Urbervilles, I'm sorry that they missed the top 10 cut. But anyway, let's get on to some results here. Number 10 with 30 points and 5 votes was His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman. Number 9 was 1984 by George Orwell, and it had 32 points and 4 votes. Number 8 was Moby Dick with 35 points and 6 votes. Number 7 was Hamlet with 39 points and 5 votes. Number 6 was To Kill a Mockingbird with 40 points and 6 votes. Number 5 was East of Eden with 44 points and 7 votes. Number 4 was the Harry Potter series with 57 points and 10 votes. Now, the interesting thing about that is that because people could vote for it as a series, it got more votes than any of the individual books. But the fact is, a lot of the Harry Potter books received votes individually. If all of those people had voted for the series instead of for, say, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix or Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, it probably would have taken number one. It probably would have, but it didn't. I don't know what went into the thinking of everybody who did this, and it was different for everyone, certainly. Strategy or gamesmanship, I have no idea. But anyway, number 4, again, was the Harry Potter series. Number 3 was Wuthering Heights with 62 points and 8 votes. And number 2 was Jane Eyre with 107 points and 15 votes. I was really hoping that Jane Eyre would pip Pride and Prejudice at the post, but it did not. Pride and Prejudice is our number 1 book with 115 points and 15 votes. So I suppose that's appropriate, given that we are smack dab in the middle of Jane Austen July. But anyhow, yeah, that's how it shook out. So I was comparing third quarter results with the final results. Because there was that tie for first place in the third quarter, there were actually 11 books in the top 10. And so I was curious to see what sidled its way into the top 10 and what got knocked out from the third quarter. And in the third quarter, Rebecca, The Great Gatsby, and Anna Karenina were all in the top 10. And all 3 of them fell by the wayside in favor of To Kill a Mockingbird and Moby Dick. So I thought that was super interesting. Another very fun, interesting thing I found about this was, so up until the very end, nobody had voted for the Chronicles of Narnia as a series. And then toward the very end of the project, the Hannett sisters, I think it's Megan and Sarah, and their cousin, whose name I think is Naomi, all 3 of them did the Booktube Top 10s tag, and they became the only 3 people who voted for the Chronicles of Narnia. Now, had each of them placed the Chronicles of Narnia in their number 1 spot, it would have actually tied His Dark Materials for number 10. They would have had the same number of points, which I just find hilarious because, you know, in the literary universe, I feel like His Dark Materials and the Chronicles of Narnia are the 2 series that are in conversation with each other, whether they like it or not. You know, Philip Pullman, I think was deliberately kind of positioning his trilogy as a response to the Chronicles of Narnia. He likes to think that it's doing something different from what the Chronicles of Narnia are doing. I don't think it's doing something much different at all, actually. It just has a different agenda. But I thought that was very fun. I thought that would have been a little bit wicked if that had happened, but it didn't. Anyhow, there it is. In our corner of Booktube, Booktube 2.0, Literary Booktube, that's our compiled 10 favorite books as we stand right now. Again, there are a lot of people whom I wish had participated, who I invited to participate, and who didn't. I suspect some of them just forgot about it. I suspect some of them don't really watch my channel at all. And I suspect with some of them, I'm just too small a fish in the pond for them to pay any mind to, which I suppose is fine as well. But anyway, so there we have it. It is over. It is done with. Even though I'm not going to be keeping data on the tag anymore, if you would still like to do the Booktube Top 10s tag, please feel free. The people who did it almost across the board found it really valuable and really appreciated how much it forced them to kind of think about how they define what their favorites are. Especially as far as the ranking was concerned. So if you haven't done the tag and it strikes your fancy, by all means, have at it. To those of you who did do the tag, thank you so much. Hope you guys have been having a great week, and I will see you again very soon. Adios.